Hey guys, and welcome back to yet another video. And this one is going to be quite a bit long, so I want to make this a little bit brief and quick so that this video doesn't end up being too long. So today guys, I'm gonna be giving you my UEFA Champions League 24-25 league phase predictions. And I'm gonna start going from who I think will finish in the overall table from last place all the way up to first, and also the ones who I think will just miss out on the playoffs and who are the ones who just miss out on getting into that top 8. So I hope you guys will enjoy this video and bear with me for this prediction video. If you enjoy the content that I'm making, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And yeah, let's get started. If you want to know how I explained about this new Champions League format, how it goes, go check out my reaction to Bayern's UCL League phase draw video. That one I might have in the description of this video. And yeah, let's kick this off and predict where I think each team is going to finish in this league table. And also want to say, this took me a while to make because I had to analyze pretty hard every single game that each team played and who I think would the results be in this case, like that over here. So in 36th in last place, this may surprise a few of you as well because I don't think they're on paper the worst team in this competition. But in 36th, I've gone for Club Brugge from the Belgian Pro League. Now with Club Brugge, I think they got a very unlucky draw. They have to play most of the big teams at their home stadium, which, okay, those games might be tight, but they are probably not going to get any points off of them. And on top of that, the teams that maybe I could see them getting points off of if they play at home, they're playing them away from home. So if you're a Club Brugge fan, I'm really sorry for the draw that you guys have gotten. Unfortunately, from my prediction, I predicted Club Brugge to get 0 points and all 8 losses, 5 goals scored, 19 conceded overall in those 8 games, and 36th Club Brugge. 35th, and also Club Brugge is also the only team I have in this list that will fail to get a point. In 35th, I've gone for Red Star Belgrade. I do think with 2 points. I do think Red Star does have a slightly easier draw than what Club Brugge has gotten, which is why I predicted they get 2 points because they'll be able to pick up a couple of draws. But realistically, I don't really see them having much chance in this new league phase format either when I look at the opponents they're going to be playing. So yeah, unfortunate for Red Star, 35th is where I put them. In 34th, I've gone for Young Boys with 3 points. Now, with only 1 win, and I think they'll lose the rest of their games. The only game I think it's possible for Young Boys to get points off of from this schedule is Red Star Belgrade. And by the way, speaking of Young Boys, I want to ask, how the hell did Young Boys get into this Champions League when they're currently dead last in their Swiss league? That just blows my mind. And unfortunately, I think that shaky form that Young Boys is on in the Swiss league will also come to them in the Champions League which is why I only predict them to get 3 points and then you're out of here. Sorry. In 33rd, I've put Dinamo Zagreb also on 3 points. The only difference is I have Dinamo Zagreb conceding less goals than Young Boys, which is why they'll finish higher than them on the table. I think Dinamo Zagreb, they haven't exactly gotten the most difficult draw. Maybe I could see them getting more than 3 points when I look at some of the opponents they're going to be playing. But that's my prediction. 3 points, which is again only 1 win from their schedule, and the rest 7 are losses. Also eliminated 33rd Dinamo Zagreb. In 32nd, I've gone for Sturm Graz. Also 1 win and 7 losses in my prediction. Now, you might say that might be a bit too harsh on Sturm Graz, especially considering that they have not got an as difficult draw as some of the other smaller teams as well. They've definitely gotten one of the more favorable draws as a pot 4 team. However, despite that, I still think Sturm Graz are not a team that's capable on the level of most of these Champions League teams. They struggle to even get far in the Conference League. So I think now that they're even in the Champions League, it's going to be even more difficult for them. So that's why I've put Sturm Graz at 32nd. In 31st, I've gone for Bologna. No wins, 3 draws, and 8 losses, and 5 losses. Personally, I think Bologna, they didn't get the most difficult draw that they could have gotten. And I'll be honest, if this was the Bologna from last season, I probably would have predicted them to make it to the league phase. But unfortunately for them, they lost their manager, they lost their best player, Calafiori, to Arsenal. They've lost some other key players to other top clubs. They have gotten a decent manager in replace of their old manager, but it's very clear this is a weakened Bologna team compared to the last one. And on top of that, I think they're going to find life trying to balance the league and UCL very different. And on top of that, from the matches that I've seen from Bologna recently, they do create a few good chances, but they don't really score a lot of goals. And I think that will hurt them in this league phase. That's why I predicted them 31st, also 3 points, eliminated. Next up, in 30th position, this might surprise a few people because on paper, they might be one of the worst clubs that are in this competition. But in 30th, I've gone for Slovan Bratislava. In my opinion, they've got an amazingly difficult draw. And I think they're gonna have a really, really bad goal difference come into this. But I predicted them to get 4 points. And you may be asking, how is that possible? Well, two of the teams that are similar to their level, similar-ish to their level, they're gonna be playing those games at home, which I think is going to be crucial for them to get 1 win, 1 draw, and then the rest are losses. Obviously, it's still not going to be enough for them to make it through to the league phase, but I think for a new coming club to finish above the likes of Bologna, Sturm Graz, and Dinamo Zagreb, I think Bratislava would be pretty happy with that being their first journey into this Champions League and this new Champions League format. In 29th, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I've gone for Feyenoord. Now, Feyenoord, I don't think are this bad for a Dutch team. The problem I have with Feyenoord is they have a really, really difficult draw ahead of them. They're definitely one of the more unlucky teams when it comes to their draw. And unfortunately, I think that is going to play a factor. No more Arne Slot as well for their manager. He went to Liverpool. So I think that will have an effect on Feyenoord and their performances. So that's why I got them in 29th. Also only 4 points. 1 win, 1 draw. Rest are losses. Eliminated from this new league phase. In 28th, I've gone for Red Bull Salzburg. Now, it's Red Bull Salzburg with 5 points. Personally, I don't think they got the most craziest draw out of all of the teams, but they definitely did not get an easy one either. And when I'm looking at the schedule and the teams that they're going to be playing, I see Salzburg getting 1 win, 2 draws, but then 5 losses, which unfortunately is not going to be enough for them to reach the league phase of this new UCL, and they're going to get eliminated. In 27th, I got another Champions League newcomer that's getting eliminated. I think it's the last... it's the next Champions League newcomer. In 27th, I've got Stade Brestois, or Brest for short, if you guys know that. I've got them getting 6 points. Now, I think from their schedule, I think they have half hard games and half games that I think are doable, which is why I predicted them to get 6 points. And I think Brest, personally, I think they massively overachieved last season in Ligue 1 to qualify for this competition. And I unfortunately think they're gonna get caught out by this. And I think they're only gonna get 1 win, 3 draws, and then 4 losses, which won't be enough for them as well to make it to the playoff system. In 26th, so now we're getting to the teams that just about miss getting into the playoffs. In 26th, I've gone Shakhtar Donetsk. Now, Shakhtar Donetsk, I don't think they got the most difficult draw in the world, but I also don't think this is not the same. I also think this is not the same Shakhtar team that was playing a few years ago that was capable of upsetting a few big teams here and there. Maybe they can. Maybe they can, and they can prove me wrong. But I also only got them getting 6 points, which is 1 win, 3 draws, and 4 losses. And unfortunately, I think they'll also get eliminated. In 25th, this might be one that I think might get a few question marks from people or might make a few people upset. In 25th, I've gone for the reigning Eredivisie champions, PSV Eindhoven. Now, I think PSV are doing very well in the Eredivisie, and they are scoring a lot of goals. But this is gonna be my quote-unquote upset of this elimination round. That PSV somehow miss out on getting a spot to the playoffs. And I think they're gonna get 1 win, 3 draws, and then 4 losses again, and miss out on getting into the UCL playoffs by a singular point. So I'm sorry if there's any PSV fans out there that might get mad at me, but that's my predictions. My final predicted eliminated team in 25th is PSV Eindhoven. And now we're gonna get into the top 24 for the playoff positions. In 24th position, and just about scraping through into the playoffs, is Lille, in my opinion, with 7 points, 2 wins, 1 draw, and then 5 losses. I think Lille got screwed massively with this really hard draw, because I don't think they're the 24th best team in this competition on paper. However, as I said, they got an incredibly difficult draw. The good news for them is they have some games that are doable for them at home. And that's where I think the 2 wins are going to come from. And they're gonna just about scrape through and make it through to the next round. Now, in 23rd, this is my underdog shout for this playoff round, which might surprise a lot of people because this is their first time back in the Champions League in over 18 years, I guess. And they haven't been in this competition for a long while, and they got a very difficult draw. But despite that, I actually think they can do some things here and surprise a few people. Because in 23rd, I've got Sparta Praha with 8 points, 2 wins, 2 draws, and then 4 losses. Like I said, I think Sparta Praha definitely got a very difficult draw, but a similar reasoning I have for Lille. I think some of their home games are definitely doable for a team like them. And for that reasoning, I've got them finishing in 23rd. If there's any Sparta Praha fans here, let me know in the comments. In 22nd, I've got a team that's in the middle of going off a rebuild, and it's also the Portuguese team that my mom supports. In 22nd, I've got Benfica with also 8 points, 2 wins, 2 draws, and then 4 losses. I think Benfica also got a very difficult draw, but I think Benfica at the end of the day will have enough quality to just make it through into the playoff round and survive there. In 21st, this is a team that, if we were doing the old UCL League format, I think they would have had almost no chance of getting this high. But considering the very favorable draw that this team got, and also considering the fact that there's now a lot more room for error in this league phase, in 21st place, I've got Celtic, the Scottish club, 3 wins and 5 losses, gaining 9 points. Personally, I don't think Celtic have the strongest team, but the crucial thing is, teams that are similar to them on paper or only slightly stronger, they're going to be playing them at home. So there's a big opportunity there for Celtic to get quite a few points. And Celtic have also, in UCL recent years and European previous years, proven that at home they can beat teams that are on a similar level to them. The main problem for them usually is they concede way too many goals away from home. That's always been their Achilles heel when it comes to this competition. They really need to improve massively on away games. If they can do that, maybe I will even predict them getting more than 9 points. But for now, I've got them getting 9 points and making it a spot into the playoffs. In 20th place, I've gone for AS Monaco. Now, this is not the same Monaco team that it was a few years ago. That is for sure. We all can agree on that. It's not the same Monaco that people were a little bit fearing about facing because of their amazing talent. They still have some amazing talent on this team. They have a very exciting midfield, and they've been playing, at times, very good football. My main problem with Monaco is they have a really difficult time trying to find the back of the net, which I think is going to hinder them to potentially finish higher up in this table. But I still think they're going to do enough. I think they'll get 11 points, 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses, which will definitely be enough for Monaco to get a spot into the playoffs. In 19th, this is a team that I think on paper has no business being this low on this table, but considering their really poor run of form in this beginning part of the new season, and on top of that, their slightly difficult draw, in 19th place, I've gone for AC Milan. AC Milan so far, in my opinion, has had a really disappointing start to this new season. I believe they're 3 or 4 games in, and they have still yet to pick up a win in Serie A, which for a team like AC Milan is completely unacceptable. And they're this historic, legendary club that used to be known to be fighting and competing for the Champions League. However, this is a very different Milan team from that old generation, and I think they're really struggling with chemistry and defensively at the back as well. So that's why I think they're gonna drop a few too many points. I think they can still get a few wins against teams that on paper they should be beating. I also predicted them to get 11 points, 3 wins, 2 draws, and 3 losses. And yeah, that's where I predict they're gonna finish in 19th place. In 18th place, I've got the last Champions League newcomer on this list. And personally, I think this is the only Champions League newcomer that's gonna do somewhat well in this competition. In 18th place, I've gone for Girona. Now, I'll say if Girona had the same team that they had last season, I probably maybe would have even predicted them to finish slightly higher. But Girona have lost a lot of their key players. Like, they got raided hard this summer for a lot of their players. And it is still in its core a good, decent team, which is why I've still got them finishing in 18th. And I also don't think they got the most difficult draw in the world. So 3 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, 11 points. I think they'll be good to go, and I think they'll make it through to the playoffs. In 17th place, this might surprise a few people, but I've gone for Atalanta, the Europa League champions from last season. I don't think Atalanta got an easy draw at all, in my opinion. And even though I still think they have a very good team in its core, I've lost a little bit of confidence in them after they lost 4-0 against Inter Milan in the Serie A. Yes, I know that's only one game, and it perhaps could have been an off game for Atalanta, but personally for me, I am seeing a few glaring problems when it comes to this Atalanta team. I mean, when you're conceding 4 goals to Inter, there's always a problem there, in my opinion. So I think they'll still do alright. They'll get 3 wins, 3 draws, 2 losses, which is 12 points, and that will be enough for them to qualify into the league phase format. In 16th, I've gone for a German club that's not been in this competition for a very long time. And although they've started the season on some pretty shaky form, I think considering the draw they've been given, I think they'll still do just fine. In 16th, I've gone for Stuttgart. Now, Stuttgart, in my opinion, have not had the best start to the season. They have lost 3-1 against Freiburg away from home, and they drew 3-3 to Mainz at home in the Bundesliga. Although, I'll say Stuttgart probably got robbed that game off of them. With that being said, the reason why I am going a little bit more soft on Stuttgart is they have some pretty big key players missing from injury right now. And they have lost pretty much almost their entire back line to the summer for Borussia Dortmund. And they've lost quite a few key players. They have kept Dennis Undav, which is great. And I think he's going to be absolutely crucial for why I don't think they're going to flop in this UCL League stage. I think for their first time back in the Champions League in a while, they'll still have a very decent campaign. 4 wins, 1 draw, 3 losses. That will get them 13 points. And that's definitely enough for them to get into the league phase. I mean the next round into the playoffs. In 15th, I've gone for Atletico Madrid. Now, Atletico Madrid, I don't think they got the most difficult draw for them in the world. They've definitely gotten a doable draw for a team like themselves. And Simeone is one of the most experienced European managers they have right now. And he's also, of course, the highest paid coach in the world right now. I don't think Atletico have gotten to the best of starts to their new La Liga season, despite all the great new signings that they've made. I think they will eventually start performing a lot better, but I think it is going to take time for that new set of players to build up off of each other and have some chemistry. I think they'll start doing a lot better towards the end of the league phase format, but I could see them struggling a little bit at the start, which is why I predicted them 15th. I still think they'll do very well. 3 wins, 4 draws, and only one loss, I think they'll get, which is 13 points. Definitely enough for them to get into the playoffs. And yeah, I predict they'll get 15th place. In 14th, I've gone for a club that's also back in the Champions League for their first time in a long while. But unlike most of the other clubs on this list, they actually have won the Champions League once. And I'm talking about Aston Villa. I think they'll finish 14th place with 14 points. Personally, I don't think Villa got the most difficult draw at all for them for a pot 4 team, their first time coming back into the Champions League. Of course, they do have a couple of hard games, for example, like the home game against Bayern Munich or the home game against Juventus. But that's the crucial thing for Aston Villa. The big, really difficult games for them are at their home in Villa Park. So I think at Villa Park, with the stadium atmosphere they have, I think they definitely can help. That can definitely help them grabbing some maybe cheeky wins or draws against some of those teams. And yeah, I think they'll have a very decent UCL League phase campaign for their first time back. I think they'll get 4 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses, which will be 14 points, and that will be enough for them to get through to the playoffs. In 13th place, this might surprise a few people considering they have one of the most difficult draws. But in 13th, I've gone for RB Leipzig with 16 points. As I said, I think Leipzig got a very difficult draw, but I've seen a lot of people massively underestimate Leipzig and their capabilities. Like, you actually look at their squad on paper, it looks quite deadly. You got Luis Openda, who's a very talented attacker. You got Yusuf Poulsen, who's balling out for Denmark right now. They signed Uderego, one of the most exciting talents, young talents from Schalke. And on top of that, they managed to keep Xavi Simons on another season on loan to Leipzig. So they've actually not really lost a lot of key players compared to last season. And I think that's why the chemistry is going to improve for a club like Leipzig. I also think they have a very underrated and talented back line. And I actually predict they're gonna get 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses, which will be 16 points. And that will be enough for them to finish on the higher end of the table of this league phase format and get a spot into the playoffs. Now, in 12th place, I have a team that, despite getting probably the hardest draw that they could have possibly gotten out of all of the teams in this UCL League stage, I think they're still going to surprise quite a few people and finish very high up this table. In 12th place, I've gone for PSG. PSG, as I mentioned, have got the hardest draw ever. They got Man City, they got Bayern Munich, they got Arsenal, they got Atletico Madrid, they got Stuttgart, they got Girona, they got PSV. I'm like, this is without a doubt the hardest schedule that any team could have potentially gotten. However, with that being said, I've been quietly impressed with how PSG have been going about so far this season. They're playing much better team football from what I've seen so far in some of their games in Liga. Yes, they might still have a few problems defensively. They have a couple of aging center backs as well. But overall, I think the team morale and the team spirit and the team chemistry is in a much better place right now compared to previous seasons. And I think for that reasoning, I think they're still gonna do alright in this new format, even with the difficult draw they're given. So I've got them getting 5 wins, 1 draw, and 2 losses, which will be 16 points, and definitely enough for PSG to get through to the next round. Now in 11th place, this is a club that I think could very much be the surprise package coming into this UCL. And that is Sporting CP, or otherwise known as Sporting Club de Portugal. Now, personally, Sporting I think have a very talented squad. They managed to keep their really good manager Ruben Amorim. He's not gone to any other club. And on top of that, they haven't lost a lot of key players. They managed to keep Victor Goyokiris, which is absolutely massive for them. He is probably one of the most informed strikers in Europe right now. I believe he's got like 16 goal contributions in like 3 or 4 games or something like that, which is absolutely ridiculous for a guy like that. How the hell has no big club gone to try to sign him yet? I have no idea, because this kid is the real deal, and I think he could help Sporting do a lot of damage against teams in the UCL that maybe on paper Sporting should not be beating. That's why I think Sporting will catch the eye of quite a few people. I think they'll surprise a lot of people. I don't think they'll have quite enough to make it into that top 8 bracket of automatically qualifying to the next round in the round of 16. But I got them finishing in 11th place, 16 points, 5 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, and then they go ahead and do their own thing going ahead. Now, in 10th, before I mention who's in 10th place, 10th, 9th, and 8th, in my prediction, all scored the exact same number of points. The team that ended up getting 8th over 9th and 10th is only because of goal differential, which is going to be very painful if I'm going to be mentioning the 2 clubs that I think are just going to miss out. In 10th place, I've gone for Inter Milan. Personally, I think Inter Milan got a very difficult draw, like PSG did. But they have a very talented team, a very talented squad, kept a lot of their key players. When Inzaghi is their manager, they're always going to be a threat in Europe. And I still think they're going to do a very good job. I think they'll get 5 wins, 2 draws, and only 1 loss. And I think they'll end up on 17 points, which will be good enough, far enough for them to get into the playoffs, but unfortunately not quite enough to get into that top 8 bracket, unfortunately. And in 9th place, also in 17 points, the team that I have agonizingly missing out on that extra top 8 spot or bracket is Juventus. Now, I really like the business that Juventus has done with their squad rebuild. They have definitely gotten a lot of quality in my opinion. They signed Douglas Luiz from Aston Villa. They signed actually at the moment I'm kind of forgetting who they're signed, but they signed a lot of good key players, attacking players, and I think they've done some very smart business with the lack of money that they've been spending. And I think they also got a very good manager now of Thiago Motta, who I think is definitely an upgrade over Allegri. And I think Juventus are going to do very well in this new UCL League stage format. That's why I got them getting 5 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. But unfortunately, I got them agonizingly missing out on that top 8 spot to automatically qualify to the round of 16. Now, we're into the top 8. The 8 teams who I think will automatically make it to the round of 16 and won't have to play those extra playoff games. In 8th place, the team I got just about scraping through to get into that top 8 is Bayer Leverkusen. Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen, I predict them to get 8th place with 17 points, 5 wins, 2 draws, and 1 loss. I think Leverkusen have got a half difficult and half easy draw, in my opinion. And because of that half easy draw, that is why I predict they're going to score quite a few goals. Which is why I got them having a higher goal differential than both Inter Milan and Juventus. And this is why I think they'll finish in 8th place. Their defense is definitely a problem that they need to work on. But I think even with defensive problems, I still think they'll have enough quality to just about scrape through into the top 8 in my predictions. In 7th place, I've gone for another German club, in Borussia Dortmund. Now, if you're a Dortmund fan, you must be absolutely kissing UEFA's feet right now, because apart from Real Madrid and Barcelona, all of your other pot 2, pot 3, and pot 4 games I think are definitely winnable for a club like yours. And that's why I predict you to get 6 wins and 2 losses, which will be 18 points. It's not because I think Dortmund have been playing exciting football, because so far I don't think there's too much difference between Terzic and Sahin's tactics. I think defensively they look a lot more sharper, but I think they are lacking a little bit in the attack at the moment. So personally, I still think Dortmund are going to do very well with the draw that they're given, and that's why I predicted them to finish in 7th. In 6th place, also with 18 points, but a slightly higher goal differential, I've gone for Arsenal. Arsenal, I think they have a very relatively balanced draw. It's not too difficult, but it's not too easy either. So it's definitely gonna be a good baseline for them to go off of. I think they have some difficult away games, which is where I predict those dropped points are going to come from. However, my hot take is, despite finishing in 6th, I don't see them getting a single loss in this league stage format. So I got Arsenal getting 5 wins, 3 draws and no losses, which will get them 18 points, and it will be enough for them to automatically qualify to the round of 16. Now, in 5th place, this is in my opinion what I'd call a very hot take, because this is a team that many people right now would call are maybe right now the best team in the world in terms of performance, playing style, and having one of the greatest managers ever in Pep Guardiola. But despite that, I think Manchester City, are gonna finish in 5th place with 20 points. Now, don't get me wrong, 20 out of 24 points is still a crazy hell lot of points, and I don't think City will care too much where exactly they finish in that league table, as long as it's somewhere in that region of the top 8. But in my opinion, I could see City dropping points to a couple of teams that are good, that they're going to be playing away from home, such as PSG and Juventus. That's why I predict they're going to get 6 wins, 2 draws, but no losses. They'll still go undefeated, and I think they'll get through relatively comfortably. In 4th place, I've gone for the team that has won the Champions League last year, and that's Real Madrid with 21 points. Personally, I don't think Real Madrid have gotten to the best start possible. However, with that being said, they're still Real Madrid, despite losing Toni Kroos, despite losing some of their key players, and even losing, not really losing, but their veteran midfielders now beginning to age. Despite that, I still think Real Madrid have too much of a crazy, talented team to not finish in the top 4. I think top 4 is guaranteed for Real Madrid. I only see them losing 1 game in this league stage format, and that's the game to Liverpool at Anfield. Apart from that, I see all the other 7 games being relatively straightforward wins for a team like Real Madrid. Maybe the last year's Champions League finalist Dortmund could maybe throw a spanner in the works for Real Madrid, but I still think Real Madrid will win that game as well. So now, we're into the top 3. In 3rd position, I've gone for Liverpool. And now, this might be considered a hot take, because this is Liverpool's first time back in the Champions League in a couple of years, and they haven't really made any big new signings for this Champions League campaign. However, I still think Liverpool have a very, very good team at their core. Arne Slot is still doing a very good job with this Liverpool team as being manager. They've had a perfect start. I don't think they've even conceded a goal yet, if I'm not mistaken. So, sorry. I don't see Liverpool losing a single game here, despite having a very tough schedule. I got them getting 7 wins and 1 draw and 0 losses, which the draw will be to RB Leipzig away from home. For that reason, I got them on 22 points and quite firmly into that round of 16 bracket. In 2nd place, I've gone for Barcelona with also 22 points, but a slightly higher goal differential, with 7 wins, 1 draw, and no losses. Personally, Barcelona, I think, have been doing phenomenal so far in La Liga. They're, at the moment, probably playing some of the best team football I think I've seen them play in a very long time. They look electric, they look fast, they look really, really sharp, they look energized, motivated, and I'm scared personally as a Bayern fan facing that Barcelona team, but I know we can at least fight for a draw there. I know we can because of our player quality, but I am scared of facing them because at the moment they look very scary good. And personally, I think Barcelona are gonna have a very, very good league phase. They'll get 22 points, as I mentioned. And yeah. And of course, that means you all guys know there's only one team left here that I haven't talked about. And at number 1, I predicted, of course, it's my club, FC Bayern Munich. Call me biased, call me crazy whatsoever, but I think personally for us as a club, I think we got a very easy and doable draw for us. Like, legit, Barcelona away from home is pretty much the only game that's scaring me, which is where I think will be the only game we'll drop points to. I see us beating Villa, I see us beating PSG, and I see us beating all the other league phase opponents. I think we got very fortunate with this draw. Do I think we're the best team that is in this competition right now? No, I don't think that. But I think because of the luck of the draw, and because of the teams we're going to be playing, and the teams we have really good history of playing against, I think that will be exactly the reason why we'll top the group just about on goal difference over Barcelona. We'll also get 7 wins, 1 draw, no losses, 18 goal differential, and yeah, I think that's how we're going to do. But anyway, guys, those were my 24-25 UCL League stage predictions. I'm sorry if this video is very long. As you can see, it's taken me almost an hour long to go off of all of these teams and predicting how they'll do. But anyway, despite that, I hope you guys will enjoy this video. And if you did, be sure to hit that like button down below. And if you're new to my channel, hit that subscribe button. As I said, where do you think your club is going to finish in this new UCL League stage format? Let me know down in the comments. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care and peace out, guys.